Okay, hi Matthew. I'm very excited to have you here on camera today on Real Estate Connect. Can you tell me a little bit more about your background and of course about the Corcoran Group you're working for?
Sure. I'm Matthew Shadbolt. I'm the Director of Interactive Product and Marketing at the Corcoran Group, which is Manhattan and Brooklyn's largest residential real estate brokerage. We also cover markets out in the East End of Long Island, what we call the Hamptons, which is a secondary home market and very big for summer rentals, especially for folks that live in the city. And we also cover markets down in Palm Beach area of Florida. We have about 2,000 agents, and we have a sizable spread across the web that I'm really responsible for. So I'm really responsible for everything digital that touches the customer, and that ranges from listing syndication, agent education, our website, mobile, video, social, and any emerging technology or emerging platforms. I'm essentially responsible for what the future of Corcoran's digital initiatives are going to be and keeping us relevant and competitive.
Okay, I know that Corcoran has a huge marketing strategy, including social media marketing. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. We've been doing social media marketing, I would say we've had a presence in social media, which is not quite the same thing, for about 3 years now. The first platform that we started with was Twitter. We didn't start with Facebook, which is sort of an interesting thing for us to look back on. And the reason that we started with Twitter was because we had a customer service problem with our website. We couldn't talk to people on our website. And the opening up of listings and agent pages and content on Corcoran.com is a little bit of a difficult kind of conversation to open. So what we wanted to do was make sure that if anybody had any kind of question about what it feels like to live here, any questions about the process, about neighborhoods, about where to eat, where to go, what to do, anything to do with coming to New York or moving within New York, that we wanted to be a resource for that. And in many ways that's become our marketing strategy. It's allowed us to move from a very fixed, print-centric, banner advertising-centric approach, and it's gotten our marketing out of listing syndication portals, and it's actually brought our marketing to life, I think.
I know that everybody, especially here at Real Estate Connect, is talking about your Foursquare strategy, or at least what you're doing with the Corcoran Group on Foursquare, but I know that you're doing a lot more today. Can you tell me more?
Sure. I mean, we've had a lot of success and recognition for our Foursquare initiative. It's really just one part of an overall social ecosystem, if you like. In many ways, I think it's sort of the mobile version of what we do on Twitter. On Twitter, we answer questions about, where to get the best cupcake or who has the best slice of pizza in the city, and we answer questions about what it feels like to live here throughout the day. What Foursquare allows us to do is put that same information in people's hands at the right time. So when they're looking for something to do, if they're looking to explore the city, if they're looking for a new place to go or friends to meet up with, they actually get to experience the city through the lens of Corcoran expertise. And that's been the big thing for us with Foursquare. The interesting thing in terms of the growth of it for us, we're twice as big on Foursquare as we are on Twitter. So we're seeing a tremendously aggressive amount of growth on that particular platform. New Yorkers are incredibly passionate about using Foursquare. We're a highly walkable city, so mobile use is very high here anyway. Foursquare is from New York, so it has a very high adoption rate. So we think about these things in terms of how they work together. Like Twitter is where we sort of ask and answer questions. Facebook is where we communicate what it feels like to live here, and very much in a visual way. We do a lot of photo posting on Facebook. YouTube is where we film answers to questions that we were asked in Twitter and Facebook. And Foursquare is where we put all of that information on the phone in the right place outside somewhere. So this is sort of how it all interrelates for us.
And especially on Foursquare, this is my first time in New York, and I really had a lot about from your tips on here in New York. Because when I walk on the street, yeah, and I look at all those Foursquare lists you made and all the things you have to do, and there's a lot of useful information. I can imagine people are talking about that as well.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate with the amount of exposure that we've had to. That we've been allowed to have with Foursquare, and people tell us on the other platforms all the time that, you know, oh, I saw your tip at the burger joint, and, you know, I tried your advice and you were right. So that, you know, that kind of stuff has very big positive impacts across the other platforms. So we never really think of these things as interrelated. And the most important thing about all of this is that it's a really, really important search engine optimization. It has a really big impact on that because all of this content gets indexed by Google, and if people are doing a search for a venue in New York, when the Foursquare venue page comes up in search results, if you have the most popular tip at that venue, you actually surface in the search results for that. So as people are searching for the Shake Shack or places like that in New York, if Corcoran has popular, highly used tips, we're actually appearing inside of those searches, giving people useful and insightful information. So it's a huge search engine play for us.
And that's often being forgotten by a lot of people because everybody's talking about becoming the mayor or other, well, not important part of it, but this is a very important part of Foursquare as well.
Yeah, and I think as the web moves away from pages and documents and more towards content that's centered around conversations, how things are shared, and stories about things, as the web grows up, we're going to see a lot less things to do with pages and destinations and more to do with putting the right information in the right place at the right time and then sharing it. So we're having a lot of fun with that particular approach, especially as it relates to telling stories about what it feels like to live here.
Being relevant. Yeah. Well, especially when listening to you, what you're doing on all those different social media platforms, I can imagine everybody thinks, well, that will take a lot of time and money. Mm-hmm. Can you say something about it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you take something like what we're doing in Foursquare, for example, we don't buy any of that. We create our own content ourselves. And of course, there's an investment there. There's an investment of time. But I firmly believe that nobody knows more about neighborhoods in New York than agents. And we're very fortunate to have 2,000 experts to ask every single week. We create probably about 15 different tips every week, but over 18 months, we've been able to scale that to over 2,000 different venues. So all the information ultimately comes from our agents. We edit and curate and invest time to sort of create that. But what we actually make is a huge inventory, a huge database of localized information. And then we start to syndicate it to different places. So we syndicate it to Foursquare right now. You know, we used to syndicate it to Gowalla and other localized platforms like that. So in terms of the investment, the majority of the investment is time-centric. And, you know, there are, when we can spend, like in Facebook, for example, you know, we run advertising programs inside of Facebook that are usually action-oriented campaigns. You know, we don't really do like sponsored stories or page-centric stuff. It's more advertising that's geared towards driving engagement. And things of that nature. Outside of that, the investment is really just me and my team's time. But for Twitter, for example, that's exclusively my time, and the iPhone is incredibly helpful for being able to manage that, being able to do it anywhere.
And you say it's my time and my team, and how big is your team?
There's 3 of us total. And we actually manage the entire digital marketing strategy for 2 brokerages in the city, the Corcoran Group and City Habitats, which is the largest rental company in the city, which is owned by Corcoran.
So in total, when you compare that to the budget in time and money for traditional marketing, can you tell me a little bit?
It's a different type of conversation because it starts to you start to quantify how valuable is earned media, and our marketing strategy is definitely moving away from classifieds and print advertising. We used to do a lot of billboards in the city, things like that. It's definitely moving more towards an approach of having as many people talk positively to their friends about what we do, which is incredibly difficult to buy. But it's a lot more fun and interesting to go and earn that. So social is right in the middle of that particular strategy for us, and it becomes more an investment of time than dollars as a result.
What are your plans for this year?
We have lots of plans for this year. One of the things that I'm interested in is the idea of moving from content creation to content excellence. And that's a very big initiative for my team, and it's going to be centered around this idea of storytelling. That's really one of the big things that we're working on right now, is this idea of storytelling with our content. I think that storytelling is the most shareable type of content that there's ever been, on and offline. And stories, when we tell stories, Facebook, for example, there's always a tremendous amount of sharing and commenting and liking and discussion around those things. So stories, they're really at the heart of communities and families, memories, and we think that storytelling is at the heart of what it feels like to own a home. So storytelling, especially about New York, we get 8 million stories here, is a tremendously rich, wide open opportunity for us. And a lot of the content that we've shifted towards has been telling the stories of the people that live here, the things that you can do here, the stories of the places you can go here, and visualizing that as well. So for example, we have a presence on Tumblr. The only thing we do there is share amazing pictures of New Yorkers. We show the people that live here. Similarly with our Google Plus approach, we do one photo a day that we take of something in the city and something story-based associated with that photo. Something interesting and something that only a real local would really know. So storytelling is a big focus for us in our digital marketing this year.
Great, a lot of things to do for the coming months. Listening to you, I think that a lot of realtors will have difficulties implementing that themselves. But the coming years will, I think that the job of the realtor will change extremely. Mm-hmm. What do you think? How will it look in 5 years from now?
That's a very big question. And if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I would also have struggled to answer it, I think. I mean, I think so many things are changing. I think the role of the realtor is in question right now, honestly. I think listing syndication, the freight train of ratings and reviews coming at agents and what they provide to the customer is in question, certainly under discussion from the customer, not even within the industry. The customer is starting to question this, the value of what a realtor does. So I think over the next 5 years, value is going to be a really, really big part of what a realtor needs to do in order to remain in business. And if you're not providing that value, that may be tough.
I think you're right. I'm afraid you're right.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, one last question. Do you have one golden tip for the realtor today?
One golden tip for a realtor. As it relates to their marketing, have fun. That's the best thing I could ever advise an agent to do with their marketing, because there's an authenticity that comes with that. And the idea of stepping outside of listing syndication as being your main way of capturing business and moving towards things that the customers actually want and enjoy and find helpful and insightful. And I'm not talking about growing a Facebook page or, tweeting throughout the day. I'm talking about putting the right information in the right person's hands at the right time. And the solution for that is going to be different for everybody. We have a very unique case at Corcoran based on New Yorkers and what they like to do. But our strategy doesn't really translate elsewhere in the country. So it turns out that Foursquare was actually a great fit for us, but that might not be applicable elsewhere. So the main thing that we do, especially in our marketing, is make sure that people are enjoying and sharing our content. And that's a really difficult challenge. It's very easy to come to a conference and for somebody to advise that. And we've heard a lot about that this week. But it's much harder to execute on that, especially every single day. Because the challenge for the realtor in their marketing is that you have to convince somebody that you're that interesting every single day, which is really, that might not be the case for everyone. So have fun, be relevant, be interesting, be insightful, and be unique with what you do. Don't follow everybody else. Swim away from the fish. That would be what I would advise.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all your stories and answers today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.